Hi everyone. So we want to continue talking about programming constructs, and remember we mentioned that there are three constructs, and we want to start with the first one, the sequence construct, and we'll move on to the selection construct in this lecture. Now, what is a sequence construct? In a sequence construct, program statements are executed one statement after another. So execution moves or flows in sequence. Okay, a statement doesn't get skipped for certain reasons. Whatever program statements have been written, they'll be executed as they are, one after another. Now, an example of this which we want to look at is a program which calculates the amount payable for quantities of goods which have been bought. Okay, so let's say you move into a shop and you are buying sweets. One sweet is 2 kwacha, and that's the unit price. Unit price, that means the price for one item. And well, you are buying 5 sweets. So what will be the amount you're supposed to pay? The amount payable will be 2 times 5, which is 10. Okay, so now if we were to write the procedure for how that needs to be computed, we will have an algorithm that looks like this. Step 1, read unit price and quantity. Well, of course, I've ignored other algorithm statements where I need to indicate the start point, ending point. I just want to show you this part. So I'll start with read unit price and quantity. Then the following step, compute amount payable. How is it computed? Amount payable equals unit price times quantity. Step 3, display the amount payable. Okay, now if we were to represent this as a flowchart. Now remember, a flowchart is a graphical representation of an algorithm. So we will indicate, well, the starting point, begin, then there is statement 1, statement 2, statement 3. Now please remember, this is not an actual representation of an example I'm just from giving. If I am to represent this algorithm in form of a flowchart notation, it will look something like this. Let me pick up my pen. Read unit price and quantity. We know that reading unit price is an action that involves entering data. And when you are using a flowchart, anything to do with entering, you represent it by a parallelogram. So here I can say read or enter unit price. Okay, this pen doesn't write so good. I'm using a mouse, but you know what I want to write. So enter unit price, and well, I can write them separately. I can draw another parallelogram here, and then I'll say enter quantity. Okay, well, in your book you can write the whole in full, but you know what I mean. Then the process of computing amount payable, I'll represent it in a rectangle. A rectangle for a flowchart is what represents a process, anything that manipulates data from one form to another. Okay, so I'll say amount payable. I would have loved to write it in full, but hey, it's very difficult to draw or write using this mouse pointer. So I'll say unit price times quantity. So what I want to show you is, if I'm to represent this using a flowchart, I need to follow the way the symbols are. But what I have on the next page, it is simply a representation of sequence construct. So if I were to ask you in a test, can you show a graphical representation of how sequence construct would look like? You can just use the rectangle boxes. Okay, because they're generalized. But if I gave you particular program or algorithm statements, like the way these are, I would want you to be specific. Where it says read or enter something, you need to use the actual shape. Okay, so I hope that explains what I'm showing you here. So with a sequence construct, you can see that one program statement follows the next, and then program execution again just follows the next. You can't skip this. Everything has to be processed in sequence or read in sequence. Now, if we were to implement the amount payable program, it would look like this. Okay, it will look like this in C++. So you first declare the variables here. Okay, here you declare the variables: int unit price, int quantity, int amount payable. So what you've just told the compiler is you want to reserve a location in memory which you want to call unit price. So in that location, when a user enters unit price, it will be entering this location called unit price, and we've given it the data type int, meaning only integers will be going in there. Int quantity, int amount payable, the same thing. So cout enter unit price. So this will be displayed on the screen, then it will allow the user to enter unit price. Again, cout enter quantity. So again, on the console or console out, on the display on the monitor, words enter quantity will appear, prompting the user to enter quantity. So cin, this object, enables the user to enter the quantity. Then now, having entered the unit price and the quantity, this formula here, it tells the program what to do with what the user has entered in a variable called unit price, in a variable called quantity. So here we are telling the computer to multiply the two values in there, and then whatever result you get needs to be stored in a payable, amount payable. Then finally, console out or cout amount payable, then here you want the program to display what was put in here. So what will come out here is the value that was put in there. Okay. All right, so you may want us to do a demo of this. So let's see how we can code that, and I will open Visual Studio. Okay, so I'll just type what I'm showing you, and you can be doing it alongside with me. Okay, so let's get started. So like I said, here I want to declare the variables that I will use. That is int unit price, int quantity, int amount payable. Let me bring this closer. Amount payable. Yeah. So next I need to indicate what I want to do with these variables. So enter unit price. You can leave some space there. Okay. End line. Cout enter quantity. Okay, there we are. Now let's tell the program what to do with this. So we can now make use of amount payable by saying unit price Okay, so we can finally say cout amount payable All right, so this is our program. So I hope you were typing as I was doing that. If I was too fast, you can simply pause. And that's the beauty of teaching electronically, because when I'm teaching in class, you can't make me pause, you can't make me stand still frozen, but here you can do anything to me. So you can pause this, try to copy this code and see what it will give you, but let's try to run and see the results it's going to give us. Okay, there we are. Enter unit price. Okay, if the item I'm buying is 200 kwacha and I buy 3 of these items, amount payable is 600 kwacha. So this is an example of a sequence construct. The program statements follow each other one after another. Now, in the next short segment, I'll show you how the selection construct works. We're going to use this very program. We're going to modify it. But let me see if you've understood this. Let's see if I can give you an exercise. I want you to do this. Write a simple program that accepts an input of length of a rectangle, and then the program should be able to multiply it with the breadth in order to calculate the area. Okay, so try to do that exercise before we move on to the selection construct. And if you do it correctly, I'll show you the solution to that. Okay, see you in the next segment.